师。Thank you, I will. Namo 本师释迦牟尼佛。Namo 本师释迦牟尼佛。Homage to the fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo 妙觉回向佛菩萨。Namo 妙觉回向佛菩萨。Homage to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of Wonderful Enlightenment Mountain. Okay. I think in English we'd probably say homage to our fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, our fundamental teacher. Okay. I was looking through my journal. This is February 15th, 2月15 in 1979, 1979. And the title is, I Had a Pepsi at Sharps Park. Many of these stories are simply embarrassing. They do not portray me in a positive light if you use the standard of Han Hui Xiuxing. But at the time, our instructions were to write every day. We had to write in our journal every day. So in order to do that, we wrote the good things that happened and the not so good things that happened. And so these journals are full of 习气毛病 and bad habits and complaining, and fear and frustration and terrible things that happen. And so there are people who say, oh, it's because they're real and they portray a life of cultivation without sugarcoating, that therefore it's helpful, because cultivation is often you 逆水行舟, you go against the current to make progress. That's a really good Chinese idiom, 四字成语. So have you ever rowed a boat? Anybody ever row a boat? Right? All right. So you want to go this way, and you have to pull with the oars this way, so you have your back towards the direction that you're going. Unless if you have a canoe and you're paddling, that's different. You paddle a canoe like this, but if you're rowing a boat, you turn around, you pull the oars, and you can't see where you're going because you're pulling in a rowboat. And if you look to the side, because you are ni shui, the river is going this way and you want to go this way, so you pull like this and then pull again. If you look to the left or to the right, it seems like you're not going anywhere because the water is pushing back. And as soon as you stop rowing, you go back. To go anywhere, you have to keep steady rowing like this. 划水, is that it? 划船. So, 泥水行舟, cultivation is that way. You push against what is the current, what is the water? It is your habits, 习气. The way you do it so often, it feels comfortable. It feels, oh, it must be right because it feels like this is the way I've always done it. So I'm in a groove and it feels easy. But if it's a bad habit, then it just feels good to take a drink. It feels good to have some alcohol. It feels good to light up a cigarette. It feels good to eat meat because you've done it a lot. In fact, it's a bad habit, and the energy of that habit pushes you towards it. So, cultivation is 逆水行舟. You go against the habit, against the current, because after you follow the Buddha, you've learned a new way, a different way, a better way to do it. You want to follow the Buddha, and the Buddha says, no, it's good to not kill, not steal. Don't get so angry. Anger is not good. Anger is not good. So, a lot of the writing in these journals, and we have, there are 9 volumes printed now. There's one more to go. This is number 10. This will be the last one. A lot of these stories are 溺水, and the sweat that happens as you try to go against a bad habit. And sometimes the habits win. In this case, the habits won. So, do people know Tim Testu, the former Hengju Fashi? So if you go here, you will find 3 steps, 1 bow. This book, there's a book called 3 Steps, 1 Bow, right? Here it is. This is not me. This is Hengyou, the first Sambuibai. I was the second Sambuibai. He was, I admired Bhikshu Hengju. Bhikshu Hengyou was my college roommate in Michigan. So that's the first one. So, and I highly recommend it. It's excellent, excellent book. So, on 3 Steps, 1 Bow, the first, they bowed from San Francisco to Marble Mount, Washington, near Seattle. Tim Testu Hengju also had Shi Qi and Mao Bing. Tim also had a sweet tooth. He liked Coca-Cola. And Shifu told him, as he started, he said, do not accept offerings of Coca-Cola. Do not buy yourself Coca-Cola, because when you drink it, you get angry and you scold your Hufa, Hengyou. And Hengju goes, yeah, Shifu, okay, Shifu. And then he went ahead and did it anyway. So many of the problems that they had are traced back to Hengju fa piqi, because he drank Coca-Cola, sugar, too much sugar, would set it off like gunpowder. So my turn for 3 Steps, 1 Bow, Shifu said, 如果你们能不喝可乐最好，切记切记，不可发脾气，不可生气。你一生气，天龙八部一下就不护持你们的法。医生就说护持生气的修行人的法有什么用呢？he said. So he said, do not drink Coke. He said, and most of all, you may not ever, ever, ever get angry. He said, if you get angry, the gods and the dragons will not protect you. Why would they want to protect somebody who's angry, an angry monk? What's the use of that? So I heard that from the very beginning, and I'm like, 依教奉行, all that sort of. Okay, I had a Pepsi at Sharps Park. Sharps Park is Sharps Park. There it is, Sharps Park Golf Course. Here it is. Here's the ocean. Pacifica is here. Devil's Slide is right there. So this was like day 3 after we crossed over the Battle of Devil's Slide. You remember Mogwai-shan, right? So here we are, Sharps Park Golf Course. It's a little golf course. Here's Highway 1. This is the Pacific Coast Highway, and we bowed all along here. Okay, little town of Pacifica. So, here's the story. Guo Yuan and her kids drove up from Oakland with a picnic basket full of sweet offerings. And you've all heard about my struggle with sugar. 5 pounds of fancy chocolates in a box, a 5-pound box of chocolates, right? A frosted layer cake, not 1 layer, not 2 layers, 3 layers of chocolate frosting. You know, a big cake, you lift the lid, here's a big round cake, 3 layers, right? A bag of gooey Chinese pastries from a Chinese bakery, rich dishes of gluten and tofu, cans of cookies, and cartons of Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola. Okay, I had made a vow, no more sweets. Because every time I eat sweets, my head goes fuzzy and I can't bow. So I said, get rid of them. Now, Heng Chao, Marty, the Hufa, whose job it is to receive offerings and take care of things. My job is to bow and not pay attention to the food. That's my job. So, Marty, Heng Chao, when he grew up, his best friend, mom and dad, owned the candy store in the town of Appleton, Wisconsin. They owned the candy store. And every day after school, they would come in the back door of the candy store and just help themselves, you know. So he grew up, candy, no big deal. There's always lots of it, plenty, no worries. For me, my dad was diabetic. We had no sugar in the house at all. We couldn't. My dad couldn't eat it. Fruit, that was our dessert, right? So when Guo Yuan brings all these offerings, what happens? Marty is like, okay, who would like these? We don't eat these. Here, you take the cake, you take the candies, you take the cookies, you take the chocolates. They met us at Sharp Park Golf Course just as we settled in to meditate after bowing. It's a Saturday, and we are in a fishbowl. There is nowhere even to Fangbian. We're in a fishbowl means everybody is watching us. This is a city street near a golf course. 连小便的机会都没有. So, hold it. A group of neighbors surround the car to ask questions. They're very sincere. Oh, what are you doing this for, right? Oh, well, can we eat some of the food? Good, I'll have a sandwich. I'll have some cookies, right? I feel my temper rising. 气，火就上来。为什么？ Greedy desire for the sweets that I'm looking out of the corner of my eye, watching the candies and the cookies. I want to be alone to enjoy a cookie or two. Cultivation is right here. I promise no more. I vowed to curb my sweet tooth, and my desire is running high. Inside, very tense situation. Shifu says, principle fights with desire in your mind. Practice is the only judge. 道理跟欲望在心里斗争。修行就是法官 I guess. Practice is the only one that will judge. 你怎么用功就会决定你是听你的欲望还是听那个道理。Here's the truth facing me in every selfish desire thought. Not pretty, but very real. Heng Chao refuses the candy. He returns the cookies. He says, too many, we don't eat them. He sets the cake and pastries out on the car for anyone who wants them. Anybody want some cake here? And I'm like, ha, ha. He's learned the bitter flavor of desire. Recent encounters eating LSD candy taught him to be careful. He loaded cheesecake. He got 2 offerings of drugs in the sweets. He learned his lesson, tempered his taste for good flavor. I slammed my pack straps over my sash, put on my pack. Okay, I'll go bow. I went out to bow in a black cloud of anger, and I still had to pee. I crept under a bush, hoping to get out so I could fang bian under a bush while nobody's watching, right? And I was fumbling with my robe, and I'm getting hot under the collar. I'm angry, but I couldn't admit it. 不能承认. Okay. As the sutra says, disciples of the Buddha, the offense of anger and hatred causes living beings to fall into the 3 evil destinies. If they are born among people, they have 2 kinds of retribution. 1, others will constantly find fault with them. 2, they will constantly be troubled and harmed by others. Do I have the Zhongwen? Yeah. 分会都送. Let's see. 佛子嗔恚之罪，一令众生堕三恶道。若圣人中有2种果报：一，常被他人求其长短；二者恒被与他之所恼害。十地品第2地。Okay. Anger. Not a good idea to bow on an angry mind. I knew a bite of the sugary food would shatter my vow, but the emotion, the dark energy of ignorance, washed away my reason and covered over my wisdom. Grrr. I forgot principle and I indulged in temper. Like a bad child throwing a tantrum, my mind of desire blew its steam in hot anger while I bowed. My thoughts ran to self-pity. It went away. Come back. Where did it go? Come back here. There we go. So my thoughts ran to self-pity, 自卑, resentment, 埋怨, because I didn't get a treat. And then I started fighting in my mind. Because I knew, part of me knew that was wrong, and the other part said, no, Marty, just bad hufa. He gave away the sweets, right? I completely forgot about birth and death. I abandoned kindness and compassion. I bowed in the corner full of xie qi. Just then, a speeding Datsun pickup truck, a ute, swung through the intersection on two wheels, going very fast, right in front of me. A hand shot out of the window and threw a full can of Pepsi Cola, unopened. This about this big, full, like a missile. At 50 miles an hour, the missile grazed my nose. I slipped it on reflex. The can smashed through the window of the house behind me because the truck was going very fast, and then the person threw it with full strength, and it missed my nose like this, and it went smash into the house behind me. Two young women watched ashen-faced, hands to gaping mouths, like this. They thought I was dead. They thought I was done for. Had I risen from that bough 1 instant sooner, the can would have broken my skull. Proof. The mind's thoughts of greed and anger can turn a quiet Saturday into a disaster zone. Facing my greed squarely, I could see the truth. Fighting brings fighting. Bad energy attracts trouble and harm. I repented of the damage caused to the house and to my own spirit. I thought of the sutra's teaching, and I felt grateful that my head was still on top of my shoulders. So, Sam, this is getting super loud here. Did it move at all? Should be okay, yeah, good. Who threw the Pepsi? I don't know, but cause and effect is absolutely true. Sooner or later, sometimes there is instant karma. The fruits of our thoughts come ripe, and debts we create with anger and hatred come due. I wanted a sweet drink, well, I got one, but not that I could drink. Hatred, rage, litigation, strife, mutual slander, and defamation, all evils such as these, are provoked by greedy attachment to the 5 desires. Tan, fen, hui, dou, song, geng, xiang, hui, ru, tan, zhe, wu, yu, so, zhi. 如是等恶，皆有贪着五欲所致。One more time. 愤恚斗讼更相回辱，如是等恶，皆由贪着五欲所致。诗会上品。If I could have been patient with desire, if I could have kept my sense of humor and seen how ridiculous it was, clearly this was a test. I had made a vow to not eat sweets. Sure enough, came 5 pounds of chocolates and a chocolate cake and cooked, 一切是考验，看你怎么办。对面若不是，须在从头练。If I had recognized that this was a test, and all I had to do was just say, I really don't want this stuff, let someone else enjoy it, it would have been fine, and I would have 经得起考验. I would have turned to state, candy is kid stuff, anger is fatal, right? So, a cheerful family stopped half a block up the street, and a 3-year-old in diapers slowly offered me, solemnly, very seriously, a 3-year-old with a serious face in his tricycle, handed me a half-eaten box of raisins and a sticky quarter, 25 cents, while smiling from the curb. The parents watched, delighted. So I saw my mistake. I saw that I had really called in the Pepsi can that almost took my head off. And I felt really, really like I missed my test, I failed my test, I didn't recognize. 对面若不是, I did not 是, 我不是. So about another 100 yards, and here is a 3-year-old kid wearing diapers who hands me a half-eaten box of raisins for the monk, and a sticky quarter, 25 cents with raisins on it. And the parents are like, oh, look how nice, I'm like, okay, Shifu, I get the point. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so drinking a Pepsi at Sharps Park. These stories, like I say, are often do not put me in a good light. Okay, this next one, I had to decide whether to share this one or not. It's about drinking alcohol. It's about intoxicants. And for us here tonight, as I look around who is here, where everybody here is probably holding that precept against in using intoxicants. So it's okay. This is the kind of this next episode is preachy. I'm preaching to people who are already holding this precept. But for anyone who is not familiar with the way Buddhists cultivate wisdom, this can seem really preachy. It can seem really, how come, why are you so uptight about a little drink, especially in a country like Australia, where people enjoy a six-pack. And even less does this make sense in France, for example, or Italy, where children begin drinking wine. They don't drink water, they drink wine instead. Water is not so good, not available always. So, just to let you know, that's what this is about. Okay, the title is Everybody Was Doing It. Nobody said it was wrong. We bowed past a liquor store on Sunday morning. There was a nervous man. He wasn't shaven. Probably the host of a party the second morning, filling up his car trunk with brown bags of vodka, mixer, gin, blended scotch, tequila, rum, brandy. He winks at the two monks bowing and drives away. So he was stocking up for a party, the second day of a party. He looked like he hadn't slept that night. Filled his car up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different kinds of alcohol for the party. And then he winks at us and drives away. He knows that we're not, maybe we were looking pretty glum. A fisherman packs 2 cases, 72 bottles of dark beer into a truck and roars off to the marina to kill fish. High school boys and girls stagger out of hot car, a runabout. They enter the store like they are walking on a rolling ship's deck. They return with bottles of fruit wine, Boone's Farm. Anybody drink Boone's Farm? Apple wine and bad drunk. That was a hangover, it was terrible. Open and flowing before they hit the highway. They return with bottles of fruit wine, open and flowing before they hit the highway. Nobody said drinking was wrong, but everybody knows it is. The energy around the liquor store was poisonous as the firewater in the bottles. The men were unclear, turbid, shaky, weak, crooked, and bedeviled. But the ads on the store windows showed bright, happy, attractive fun seekers having the times of their lives. The people who were buying the alcohol didn't look that way. Drinks in hand, telling the world that dulling the mind and poisoning the body is right, not wrong. The Buddha's sutras shed a bright light of health and hope in the darkness of the drinking world's demonic stupidity. I told you this is preachy. In a society where refusing a social cocktail or not sharing a six-pack with the gang makes a person an outcast, a party pooper, a teetotaling goody-goody, Buddhists say, no, alcohol's poison. Beer, wine, liquor make people stupid. I prefer wisdom. Wisdom is reality. I prefer people. I don't want to poison them. Nothing speaks the truth more clearly, more fearlessly than the Buddha's precepts. Wow, this is tough, huh? Those who crave intoxicants will descend at death into the hell of boiling excrement, and in succeeding lives will be stupid, having lost the seat of wisdom. Intoxicants cause madness and confuse the spirit, affecting people like a deadly poison. Therefore, the texts say, it would be better to drink molten copper. Take care not to break the precept against taking intoxicants. This is the Shami Lu. These are the Shramanera Vinaya, the book about precepts for novices. This is purple prose, right? But it's designed. This kind of language is designed to move people away from habits when nothing else in the world says that there's anything wrong with drinking. And there are lots of studies who say drinking is good in moderation. If you're seeking wisdom, however, putting intoxicants into your bloodstream confuses that wisdom. It dulls it, and you have to wait until the bloodstream runs clean again before you can see your thoughts clearly. The next bow reminded me that before I became a disciple of the Buddha, I introduced my young sister to getting high on apple wine, my sister Liz. She looked up to me, and I approved of drinking as a college student. She got the message. Shame covers my heart as I see how the poison spread. So I introduced my sister to Boone's Farm apple wine. 贪欲之人10岁夫鸟地狱 This is Shami Lu 生生于于是智慧中米荤旷药烈欲皮油 right 故经云宁欲阳通慎勿烦酒慎勿厌烦酒可不介于沙弥律仪 A church stands next to the liquor store. It's very interesting how there in Pacifica there was a liquor store and a church. We bow by people who enter quickly, respectfully. There's no bad energy here. Mothers in Sunday best and fathers in press suits, they walk with grandparents and kids into the tall, adorned house of worship. Nobody feels ill at ease here. There are no loose ends, no trembling legs. The difference in environment as we bow feels like a green, lush woods next to a blackened, smoking wasteland after a forest fire. Getting high drops the human spirit. Demon rum is the planetary disaster, a plague nobody bothers to criticize these days. The poison is too widespread. Worshipping the spirit makes all the difference in light, in happiness, and health. It was never so clear to me before as on this Sunday, within 40 yards of sidewalk. We can be good people. All we need to do is learn to value the Buddha nature within. Okay, that's a little bit preachy, but the principle is true. Okay, moving on here. These, let's see here. Okay, this is a pep talk. I'm giving myself a pep talk. I needed to, because I didn't talk, so I wrote myself. I encouraged myself. We are lodged in a parking lot down from Daly City's riding stables on Skyline Boulevard. We are back in town again, the San Francisco Bay Area, near two tall television towers. Seems like years or lifetimes ago since we first spotted them from an isolated Seacliff camp in Pescadero last December, right? This is now February, so December, January, February. 2 months ago, we were back in the south and we had seen these two towers on the horizon. Now we were underneath them. Now we're here, and traffic roars by day and night. The ego does not want to face the city. Many memories of my old hometown. So my ego dives into sleep. I'm drowsy, falling asleep. 睡语. Who do I apologize to for oversleeping? King Yama does not listen to excuses. I will certainly die right on time. Missing ceremonies is an error in cause and effect. Karma doesn't wait. 我就鼓励我自己. Try again. How did the ancients stay alert? For sure, cultivators in the past had to deal with sleep. How did they cultivate vigor? My hunch is genuine vigor rises from great compassion. A deep concern to end beings' suffering must be the wellspring of energy that keeps bodhisattvas awake most of the day and night. Even when it's time to rest, bodhisattvas, awakened ones, Jeja, maintain a heart of compassion for all suffering creatures. They recite, when it's time to sleep and rest, I vow that living beings will obtain peace and security in their bodies and not be moved and confused in their minds. 以时亲息当愿众生身得安稳心勿动乱. And when I wake from sleep, I vow that living beings will enlighten to all wisdom and have vision that spans the 10 directions. 睡眠如雾，当愿众生一切智觉，周顾十方. So the Daly City Stables, let's see here, it says lift up for Daly City Stables. Hold on. Oh, here it is. We bow into San Francisco for lunch out of San Mateo County. Every Dharma on the trip. Oh, okay, this is here. Every Dharma on the trip is hanging by a thread. From the daily struggle with the food demon to the Plymouth's dangling tailpipe, from the whisper of false thoughts while bowing to the subtle turning of meaning in a word from a word in the sutra, from 2 weeks of storms and no chance to wash up, to a loose thread on my knit skull cap that threatens to unravel into a fistful of blue yarn. There's nothing fixed. It's all in motion. Hung Chao and I simultaneously discover the filter of words and thoughts that has kept our minds locked in a canyon of consciousness. We have relied on our thoughts and words in every situation. Letting them go now feels like opening a gate in the canyon fence. The wild horses of the mind are galloping loose all over the prairie. Taming them takes great strength and constant effort without rest. Life lives its best at its hardest. In all worlds in 10 directions, they rely on nothing and dwell nowhere. 十方所有住世间，一切无着，一无住。十回上品。Okay, so this was, you can see a lot of this was very challenging, really tough. I have a song which I would like you to enjoy. This is from a little bit further south. This is a place called not Goleta, Gaviota Pass. Here we go. So Gaviota Pass is here. Highway 101 comes along here, so we can see where we are. This is Southern California, and here we are. So here's Santa Barbara. People know that city. And California looks, we're going west actually, and then turning up for Big Sur. Gaviota Pass is right here. Here's Santa Barbara. And this is a very desolate part of the California coast. Along here there are oil wells, drilling for oil. There are oil derricks that don't like this. And it's, there's a lot of beaches and no towns, no people living there at all. It's really desolate. And we felt that these are very long miles. And when we got to, let's see here, where are we? Hacienda Arroyo Hondo, Cañada State Beach. Yeah, so here's Gaviota Pass. Right here, Highway 1 and Highway 101 are together, and along here, there was let's see if we can find any pictures here. Yeah, right. There was a tunnel, we had to walk through the tunnel. There are some very tall trees back here before the tunnel, where it's a little flatter, just around this corner. And California, here you can see the sand here. This is what it was like a lot bowing along here. So California had been through a drought for seven years at this point. And everything was very, very dry and very hot. And just at Gaviota Pass, where it goes up like that, we leave the ocean behind, but there was a huge tree, a giant tree, and everything around it was just sandy and hot and parched and dry. And because as we bowed, we traveled very slowly, just, 1, 2, 3, and bow. So we got to see the land very clearly on both sides. Whatever was there, we had our face in it, head down into whatever was there. And lower than just on the same level as the insects and the bugs and the creatures. So we were amazed when we got to this giant tree at Gaviota Pass, because underneath the tree, over here, were deer, and the deer had their tongues out. They were suffering in the heat. And over here, watching them, was a pack of wild dogs. They were down on the ground, like that, too tired to chase the deer. Now, ordinarily, those wild dogs would be all over the deer, but in the heat of the day, they all found shade under the tree. Over here were frogs. Over here were snakes. Over here were coyotes. Over here were rabbits. All of the natural enemies all shared the shade of this giant tree at Gaviota Pass. And we watched this and were completely amazed, because this would be impossible in nature, but the animals had worked out how to survive with your mortal enemy when a different danger threatened everyone, which was heat. So we saw this happening, and we thought, wow, people haven't figured this out. Humans haven't figured this out yet, but the animals have already. So as soon as the sun went down, everybody backed away, looking very carefully, and the deer doing, 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 and the frogs disappeared and the snakes disappeared. And so they all went their way at night when it was cool, but during the day, they could find shelter in the shade of the family tree. So I thought, oh, here's a good song. Your part goes like this. We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree, sitting in the shade of the family tree. See this last line here? There it is. Can we try it? We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree. Do it twice. Sitting in the shade of the family tree. Great. True story. Water and earth, wind and fire, roots digging deeper, branches reaching higher, north and south and east and west, all beings akin to me. Here we go, your part. We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree, sitting in the shade of the family tree. I got earth in my feet, I've got oceans in my knees. 7 generations live on inside of me. My roots connect the universe, all beings are family. We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree, sitting in the shade of the family tree. What we do to our planet, we do to our home. Planet Earth is our address, nobody lives alone. Everyone's a neighbor in our Earth community. Okay, here we go. We're all sitting in the shade of the family tree, sitting in the shade of the family tree. Earth is home to all of us. Share the crops, don't make a fuss. Share the food grown in the ground. There's enough to go around. You eat the burger, you feed the cat. One you savor, one you pet. Pet the burger, eat the cat. We haven't got that straight. I've got brothers wearing fur, I've got sisters wearing fins, some with wings and some with tails, some with rainbow skin. I don't need my family, come sit here right by me. And we're all sitting in the shade of the family tree, sitting in the shade of the family tree. Now the cook, she calls it omelet, but the chicken called it egg. You may call it drumstick, but the turkey called it leg. Every mother loves her children, live and let life be. Last chance, well, we can sit beneath the shade of the family tree. Sit beneath the shade of the family tree. Come on, sit beneath the shade of the family tree. All right. Sometimes you sing your stories. That's good. Okay, let's look further. Do one more, since we've got the captive audience here. Let's see, the usefulness of what is not. Okay, this is a good one for us. So you have been here now for not quite a week, some of you for a week already, our group from Dangbian. And life in the monastery is very simple, very simple. You think about what you do without when you come, right? Especially over at 102, the men are what we offer is very simple. Basically, it's a place to sleep and a roof. That's all. It's cold or wet. So at first, it can feel very bitter. Cool. And then at a certain point, if you find the Dharma, something flips over. Something flips over, and that simplicity becomes valuable. In fact, priceless, precious. Because why? When we are home, we are surrounded by our things and our relationships and the energy of years in the same space. When you come to the monastery, you realize what you need and what you can do without. So we got to a place called Fort Funston. Fort Funston is right on the coast. There are hang gliders, people who you take a sail and you go running off a cliff and you just fly, and you have to keep it just like a sail in a sailboat. You have to keep it to the wind or you'll go down. There's no engine. Hang gliders, hanging and gliding. Simple aircrafts using what's missing to leave the earth. The Tao Te Ching says we put 30 spokes together and call it a wheel, but it's the space where there is nothing that the usefulness of the wheel depends. I don't know if I can read all these. San Shi Fu Gong. Cliff, what's that? Gong Yi Dai. Gong Yi Shema. Okay. 当其无有车之用，当其无有车之用，当其无有车之用。Cultivators bring us, excuse me, cultivation brings us to appreciate absence. In the world, we seek to get, we hold fast to face, to each other, to stuff. The tighter the grip, the more it hurts. When the natural process of change and decay carries off our attachments. In cultivation, we let go of liking and disliking altogether. Things have value only in their power to make others happy. The more we have, the more we can give away. Okay. 彼诸菩萨出于世，不着内外一切法。入风无碍，行于空，大 地用心亦弗然，大土大地用心亦弗然，大事用心亦弗然。Hang gliding's joy comes from what's missing: engines, seats, noise, friction, wheels, and the fuselage. The less the pilot relies on, the more pure the sensation of flight. What does the wind attach to? All these bodhisattvas abide in the world unattached to anything, inside or out, like wind coursing unobstructed through the sky. The great knights use their minds in this way as well. Some people feel that leaving home, renouncing possessions, hair, pretty clothes, family and fortune and fame is taking a big loss. But the principle of the Buddha deliver a flavor of joy, of light and liberation that one tastes only after getting free of the extra weight of worldly ties. Then, the more we can do without, the more useful we become to the world. Therefore, just as we take advantage of what is, we should recognize the usefulness of what is not. 故有之以为利，无之以为用。Lao Tzu. The Avatamsaka totally fathoms absence, and it brings the Bodhisattva back to the ground. Hang glider pilots can be like Taoists or self-absorbed arhats, soaring at ease on the wind, in touch with emptiness and at peace in the absence of worldly ties. Bodhisattvas, however, might climb the same drafts to sail aloft, but the Bodhisattva would also see the slums of Daly City, the roaring Bayshore Freeway with its racing, red-eyed commuters. Turning west, they would see the ocean full of suffering creatures eating each other. Bodhisattvas would glide back to earth and resume their cultivation in earnest to end the pain of living beings. The Bodhisattva is always happy with the still, tranquil Dharma. He follows in accord with it and obtains the state of nirvana. They also do not forsake the path of living beings. They attain subtle, wonderful wisdom in this way. Pusa chang le ji mie fa, sui shun de zhi nie pan jing, yi bu shi li zhong sheng dao, huo ru shi deng wei miao zhi, shi hui shang ping. Because the Bodhisattva empties out her own desires, they find a capacity to make others happy. Seeing people suffer hurts them too. So they give up nirvana's bliss and forsake solo sailplaning until all beings get wings of their own. Okay. All right. So, I'm happy to be able to share. This has just been on a bookshelf for years now, and it's very happy to crack it open and recognize that we need to share it. So currently, I'll show you what's going on here. Currently, Bhikshu Hung Chao, which is Professor Marty Verhoeven, is adding his volume 10. Let's see here. He is adding his volume 10 from here it is, from California. I'm doing mine here. Let's see here. That's not opening. Where is Marty's? This is mine. Anyway, you can see these are all the way up to CTTB. So we're well underway, and it's possible this will be done as long as we stay alive until we're finished. So here it is, lots and lots of entries. So that'd be nice to have that done. We can finish. We arrived at City of 10,000 Buddhas, and Shifu said, 你们赶快把它写好了. So now, 40 years later, we're 赶快. Yeah. Okay, so I would hope that folks will find some support and some encouragement in practicing this wonderful Dharma of bowing, understanding that this is rare and special in the world. Should we dedicate merit? Here we go. As one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, leave their grief and grief. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all Alrighty, and we will bow before we stop. Save that. Okay, first bow. Second bow. Third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. See you all again tomorrow night. Last time tomorrow night. Good night.